the request after this, I'm not going to accept anyone's request. बेशक वो आपको messages करते रहे कि tell the teacher to let me in. It's really difficult to go back when the slides are on, and then I have to minimize and go back and accept the request. All right, so Sir Philip Sidney, I think we had done that. The main concepts of Sir Philip Sidney is that poetry is an art of imitation as defined by Aristotle. So uh, he was interested in the classical poets, and he followed the concepts of Aristotle and classical writers and classical poets. And then he says poetry is not a mindless or immoral activity, and its main concern or chief concern is to teach and delight. Fine. So the classical writers also believed in this thing, that there is a moral lesson, or poetry should teach as well, not just delight. So there has to be a lesson out of poetry as well. This is what the classical writers, and then the Renaissance and the new classical writers also believed in this thing. And then he also believed in the three unities, that there should be three unities in the tragedy, just like what Aristotle had believed in. And then creative poetry is similar to religion, because again he wanted poetry to give some kind of moral lesson in the end, and that is only done when you are preaching or talking about religion through poetry as well, or literature. Main area of interest in criticism is the function of poetry, which he actually the different functions of poetry. So he considered only one aspect of judging the work, literary work, or poetry. Influences that the English tradition and the history of literary criticism begins with Sydney. This is actually the most important point of Sydney, that literary criticism, that is English literary criticism, begins with Sydney. Then comes the new classical period, which is also called as the Augustan Age. Sorry, Augustan Age, Augustan Age is the age of reason. The new classical period in which the people again imitated or copied the classical writers and the classical period and their rules, and everything that was mentioned by the classical writers, by Plato, Aristotle, and Horace, that was actually copied. So the rules were actually revived. The same rules were revived. And John Dryden was a dramatist, and he said that the main concepts were: a drama must stick to the three unities, the language of play must observe proper speech, the violent action should not be shown on stage, it would be quite improper. So again, the same kind of areas in which the classical writers were interested in, it's also written here. The rhymed verse in drama is more valuable than the blank verse. So but he was not in favor of the blank verse, which mostly the classical writers also followed. So he said that the rhymed verse, whether it's a poetic or prose, it should be more, it's more appropriate. And then he did talk about this thing, that simple prose style should be used in writing, especially as well as on literary criticism. So he was in favor of the simple prose style as compared to the other classical writers and neoclassical writers, which actually believed in this thing, that poetic language should be used, or language which is dignified, that should be used. But I mean, he did favor the simple prose style instead of the poetic diction. But still, the key concepts that are mentioned here at the end, he was also in favor of these things: decorum, politis, courteous, formality, clarity, order, decorum, which was actually followed by the classical writers, the actual classical writers. I mean, they also said that there should be order, there should be rules for writing poetry, there is some decorum that should be followed. Up till the Romantic writers, everybody, almost all the writers and poets, they followed some rules and regulations and decorum and elegance and dignified language. Although Dryden was not in favor of so much dignified and flowery language, he did favor the prose style. But still, the other few things, especially the three unities, proper speech, decorum, that was all the same as that of the classical writers. So that was Dryden, John Dryden. Just make sure that you follow the important aspects. Just note down the important aspects aspects instead of studying each and everything. um, Main concepts, main areas of interest, the kind of language he wanted, but he was also in favor of decorum and order and elegance in poetry. So these are the main things which you should remember. Joseph Addison was the writer or the poet of the Age of Reason, that is also called as the Western Age. It is followed by the Renaissance and New Classical period. Actually, कोई खास मतलब division तो नहीं है ना in सारे ages में. Maybe the start of the century would be called as Renaissance, and then the following century would be following years would be called as the Age of Reason or New Classical period. Here, Joseph Addison, he also believed in the same philosophy and same kind of. He also followed the classical writers because it's the age of reason. I mean, the writers and the poets of this time, they believed in reason as compared to imagination, and this is the time just before the romantics as well. So they all, Joseph Addison, John Dryden, they all followed, believed in this thing that the rules should be followed, decorum should be followed, elegance, flowery language, and the past critics are, and then the classical writers, they have to be followed as well. Then greatness of literature, according to him, is not mechanical superiority, but the potential of a work to display the immensity of life in a way that transcends imagination. So he differentiated from the Dryden in such a way that yes, the classical following classical writers, especially their rules, is good, but in order to make a work great or sublime, the poets and the writer's own imagination is also very important. I mean, the poet actually makes his work of art as great and sublime. It's not always following the rules of the classical writers. Then he also wanted. He also wanted to use common language, and he was in favor of this thing as well, that the language of the people should be used in the critical works that are written by the to the common people. So the aim of the critics, according to him, should be to set bridges between common people and the great works of literature and criticism. So the critics should actually, when they are evaluating the work, any work, as I've told you so many times before, that the critics should try to make the work logical. I mean, they should try to connect it with the society, with the cultural values, and with the norms as well. So the language that is used should be the language of the common people, especially when critics critically evaluate to include well, even in the works of literature, whether it's poetry or novel or drama, he is also just humor, wisdom, use of power and one another. We tend to make once or twice हम करते हैं एक दूसरे के साथ मजाक भी करते हैं. We tend to make humor, we tend to use fun and wisdom as well, which is very funny sometimes. So why not use that kind of language in the literature as well? That is the language of the common people. So मतलब romantic से पहले भी people started talking about this thing, that the common people and their language should be given more importance, and that should be included in the works of literature as well. ये लोगों ने कहना शुरू कर दिया था, but obviously it was not very much prevalent in this age. It was more prevalent when Wordsworth wrote lyrical ballads, and he announced that the common people are the theme of their poetry and writing is going to be the common people and the common the everyday topics. लेकिन उससे पहले ये काम एटलीस्ट शुरू हो चुका था. Okay, main area of interest in criticism is the value and function of literature, and then literature. His influence is literature and criticism became the matter of interest for common people. So even this was the age of reason, not imagination, but still he was in favor of this thing, that only a poet can make his work great and sublime, and common language of people should be used. in literature as well as in works of criticism. So that's why people, common people got interest, and they took interest in reading literature and criticism. Obviously, when you can understand something, only then you are going to be motivated or interested in it. And the catchphrase, his catchphrase is to enliven morality with wit and to temper wit with morality. So there should be some moral lesson, some kind of moral lesson in the end as well, in the end of any work or literary work. But wit should be there as well. That is use of humor and wisdom. That also should be there, which is a part of human nature, which is part of human nature as well. All right, then comes Alexander Pope, and Alexander Pope has written Rape of the Lock, very famous epic, that is mock epic. It was also in blank verse, just like the epics are written, the actual epics are written also in blank verse. But he was in favor of, he was making fun of the epic. That's why he has written Rape of the Lock, which is mock epic. And then, but he was also using, he also wanted to use rules. Um, Again, grace, order, decorum in his work, not like Joseph Edison, right? So he was also in favor of this thing that dignified language should be used, rules should be followed, because he also wrote in blank verse. Works of criticism is essay on criticism, and then main concepts in the golden age of criticism is the classical age. So he also believes in this thing that classical age, which was the time of Plato and Aristotle, classical period, should be followed. And he also followed Holmes, Aristotle, Horace, Longinus. He also followed their way of writing, their rules, their decorum. uh, Gee, guys, someone is trying to enter. It's almost 5. आधा घंटा तो हो गया है ना. I mean, please message them that wait for some time. Those who are trying to enter, मुझे ये slide खत्म करने दें. Then I can let them in. And then he also said a good poet needs to be natural genius, adorned with the knowledge of classics and understanding of the rules of poetry. So again, he believes this thing that to be a good poet, you need to read all the classical, writers and poets. You should be aware of the classics, and you should also understand the rules of poetry, which was followed by the classical and the new classical writers and poets. That rules are to be followed. There are some certain rules for writing poetry, and then balance, grace, decorum, that should also be followed as well. So he had the same opinion as most of the poets of Renaissance, New Classical, and Age of Reason. People they had, the poets that had. The task of the critic is to validate and maintain classical values in the ever shifting flux of cultural change. Again, critics should find it interesting to read classical poetry, which is not very important nowadays, but at that time it was. And he also defends good taste and cultural values, which are very important in writing poetry, according to him. Okay, next is now the romantics have started. Okay, I'm going to wait for 1 minute and let the people in who are trying to send request. जी किसने request भेजी थी? Any idea? Kinza, are you with me?
मैम ये इबाद होगा, इसके इंटरनेट का इशू है, बार बार लॉग आउट हो रहा है।
Yes, ma'am.
अच्छा अच्छा, चलें उसको कहें रिक्वेस्ट भेजें. एंड द रेस्ट ऑफ यू प्लीज टेल मी अप टिल नाउ एज ऑफ रीजन एंड अलेक्जेंडर पॉप की समझ आई है? डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड एवरीथिंग or anything that is not clear? जी
यस
रुबीना.
मैम, आ गई समझ। मैम आ गई है।
अच्छा, and Rida. Rida is not present, I think.
Yes, ma'am, I'm present.
अच्छा, ठीक है, that's good if you're present. So please make sure that you note down the points, and you can take the lecture from um, online lecture as well from the LMS, जो कि मैंने अपलोड कर दिया था. अच्छा, मैंने एक दो स्लाइड्स अभी तक नहीं अपलोड की हुई। एक तो है जो व्हेन वी स्टडीड प्लेटो इन द स्टार्ट, and then Aristotle's poetics. Both of them are also included in the same slides जो मैंने अभी अपलोड किए हैं, historical survey. But if you want to read those, philosophy of Plato again, or Aristotle's poetics in a little bit detail more, then I will upload those slides as well. लेकिन अगर एक क्वेश्चन आता है ना, मतलब historical survey पे, then there is no need to read them in so much detail. At least आपको समझ आ गया था what is the Plato's, philosophy, और पहले भी आप लोगों ने पढ़ी हुई है. And Aristotle's poetics, what is it about? You already read that as well. But if you want, I can upload them on LMS as well. गाइस कोई रिस्पॉन्स ही दिया करें, ऐसा लगता है कि आई एम टॉकिंग इन द एटमॉस्फेयर.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Love for the upload.
राइट, थैंक यू. नींद तो मुझे आ रही है बिकॉज आई हैव बीन वर्किंग ऑन LMS सिंस लाइक लास्ट 2 days and nights. तो आई वांटेड टू स्लीप, बट ऐसे लग रहा है कि आप लोगों को मुझसे ज़्यादा नींद आ रही होगी. ऑलराइट, सो वर्ड्सवर्थ. William Wordsworth, Romantics actually did not start from here. It started from France. After the French Revolution, people started, saying this thing that the rules should be amended or broken, and there shouldn't be any rules, not just in poetry, but in other fields of lives as well. Because the English people, especially the elite class or the upper class of England, they started following the French people, uh, and they had rules for everything, like rules for dressing, rules for wearing hats. You can see in all old movies as well that the ladies, I mean, they're wearing lots of different kinds of hats, and the way to eat on the table, I mean, using the fork and knife, there were manners, there were some rules for everything, and they actually followed. The English people followed the French in all, in all the fields of life, not just in poetry. So when the after the French Revolution, people, and especially the poets, they started saying that the rules should be rules should be changed or broken. So people started, eating in whatever way they wanted to, in dressing whatever, in whatever way they wanted to, in using different kinds of dress codes as well. Not just one simple kind of dress which was followed by the elite class. And then again in poetry as well, the rules were changed, and it was not only in blank verse. It was still, I mean, in poetic diction, but the themes were that were, the topics that were selected, or the themes that were selected, they were the themes or the topics of the common people. Common language was actually adopted. It was in poetry, and rhyme scheme was still there, but not only in blank verse. Before Romantic age, I mean, up till the age of reason and Alexander Pope, everybody wrote in blank verse, right? But afterwards they changed some of the rules, especially for writing poetry as well. And the subject matter, okay, so in the preface to the second edition of Lyrical Ballads, Wordsworth explains the new vision of poetry he shares with Coleridge, and he says that the subject matter of his poetry is driven from common life. Fine, so the topics that he had selected were about the common people, common life, and common things and common objects of nature. It can be a flower, it can be a vase, it can be simple, themes which are not only relevant to the kings and queens and royalties. Because before that, the poems that were actually written, they were about only the elite class, the royalties, and the kings and queens. And then the proper language of poetry is as it is really used by people. This is a very good sentence. The language of poetry should be as it is really used by the people of the society, common people. The manner is the natural state of excitement. So the way the people, get excited in the daily life, the natural emotions, the natural feelings should be expressed in the poetry instead of exaggerating it a lot, and making it artificial. The poets do not longer sorry do no longer need to follow the prescribed set of rules for the aim is that they freely express their own individualism, and so obviously they did not have to follow the prescribed rules that were set by the classics or the classical writers and even the new classical writers. So they are free to express their own ideas, their own individualism, and their own feelings and expressions. So that was the reason people started adding some autobiographical element in the poems as well, in the poems and in the novels as well. So before that, I mean, usually the topics were mostly objective, not subjective. But afterwards, if you read the poems of the romantics, they have their own personal experiences involved in the poems that they have written as well. Main area of interest in criticism is the elements and subject matter of literature, and he was definitely of the view that the subject matter should be more of the subjective type. Okay, then there are some catchphrases. You can go over that. Shelley was also a kind of a romantic, and he also believed in the individualism and imagination of the writers and the poets. And then Shelley also blends Plato's concept of ideal forms with his own understanding, and the result is that poetry is the best way to teach at these forms and at the ultimate truth. So he was very much influenced or very much impressed by Plato's philosophy, especially of ideal forms. But he said that people can reach the ideal forms through poetry, through imagination. Although Plato was not in favor of poetry at all, and the poets, I mean, he called them as mad people. And but Shelley believes in that those ideal forms, because when ideal forms kya hai? When we think about something, when we have an idea in our mind, that is actually the ideal or the form. When we think of that, that is the form. But when we see the physical shape of that form, that is not the form actual, but that is the image, or that's a copy of the form. So poetry is imitation of imitation, according to Plato. But Shelley says that we can achieve those forms which Plato has talked about through poetry, through imagination. So he says individual and imagination are defended against the classicism's emphasis on order and reason. He defended that as well. But then he says Plato's forms go hand in hand with the romantic ideal of imagination. This is an important line, that Plato's forms go hand in hand with the romantic ideal of imagination. So poetry is less concerned with reason and rationality and more concerned with the spiritual things and transcendentalism, spirituality and transcendentalism. So through poetry, you can reach the transcendentalism. You can reach the higher power. And if ideal forms can be achieved through mind only, then the spirituality or transcendentalism can also be reached through poetry, because poetry is all about imagination, right? The poet gets imagination, or he gets intuition, only then he writes. So he is actually thinking about, or using imagination, thinking about the things before writing about them. So this is the best way. Poetry is the best way to reach the ideal forms, according to Shelley. And poetry is a teacher and guide to truth, and it is embodied in nature and the individual, not in science, reason, or philosophy. Since the Romantics were against the age of reason, age of new classical period as well. So that's why they are of the view that poetry is not part of science or reason or philosophy. It is mixed with or embodied in nature. And the Romantics were basically more interested in nature, and through nature, they said that we can reach God through nature. Coleridge, Wordsworth, Shelley, and all the other writers coming after them would be considered as someone who are basically closer to nature. All right, the 19th century and the early 20th century poets and critics. One of them is Hippolyte Adolphe Taine, and the main concepts of Hippolyte is to study only the text without considering the author and his or her inner psyche would result in an incomplete analysis. So, according to him, text and the author should be examined together. I mean, if you are evaluating a text, you should study the background, or the history or the autobiographical elements or biography, sorry, biography of the author as well, without which the text's analysis would be incomplete. And he was the first one to write the history of English literature as well. You must have studied history of English literature in introduction to literary studies and introduction to language. उसमें थोड़ी बहुत history पढ़ी होगी. So he was the first one to write a book on this history of English literature. So according to him, these things are very important when you are critically analyzing any text. That is race, authors, inherited and learned personal characteristics, then surroundings, author's culture, intellectual concerns, moment, that is the time period in which the work was written, and the dominant faculty is that individual talent, the author's individual talent. So, or the way he writes, the main themes that he writes about. So you should know about these points when you are analyzing a text or reading a text. Main area of interest in criticism is the meaning of the text. So he is more interested in the meaning of the text in relation to the author as well. So every person or every writer or every critic had his own way of critically evaluating the text, if it's a poet or even a critic. So there wasn't, I mean, they studied the whole text from one aspect. मतलब पूरे के पूरे text को, like there's only one element that they're looking at. For example, Hippolyte is only talking about meaning of text, and then in the previous points we have discussed that any writer would only be talking about the function of poetry, literary taste. हमने यही पढ़ा ना. So they would judge the whole text or all kinds of text according to just one aspect, which is holistic approach. But modern criticism में ऐसा नहीं होता. Like modern literary criticism would look at one aspect at a time, but by applying a theory, to in order to make it focused. मतलब सारी की सारी चीज को एक तरह जज नहीं करना. There are so many aspects in the text. It's not just meaning in the text, right, that you're looking at. There are so many things which can be, so many aspects through which the text can be critically evaluated. But in order to again, in order to focus on one concept, you need to apply literary criticism, literary theory, sorry, which is a modern way of critically evaluating or judging a text. Okay, then comes Matthew Arnold from 1822 to 1888. And then main concepts are poetry can provide necessary truths, values, and guidelines for society. His way of writing poetry is very different from the other romantics and modern poets. He actually is very deep. He uses a lot of symbolism, and he also not just adds his own personal experiences in the poems, but also is always looking for truth. And his subject matter is very serious and very he's always looking for higher truth and seriousness. So the subject matter is actually very serious. But again, he also focuses on selecting common theme, common language for the people, but uses symbolisms, which makes the text very difficult to understand, a little bit difficult to understand. And then he also says literature reflects the society in which it is written, and for this reason presents its values and concerns. So there is one poem, Dover Beach, which is also written by Matthew Arnold. And in that poem, he actually talks about his own personal experience as well. And obviously the society. He talks about the society and then his own experience. Then there is seriousness goes hand in hand with moral excellence. And then the critics is to be objective, not having an interest in the worldly affairs. So this is what, and he was interested in the function of poetry. The main area of interest in criticism is the function of poetry. Okay, then comes Henry James, a very famous novelist, and he was of the view, for the first time he said that in novels the dialogues should be added, because dialogues are something which makes literature or literary work realistic, right? So he wanted to add personal direct impression of life in the novel. He said that it should be the society should be objective. Sorry, the society should be very much clear, and the cultural values should be very much clear in the novel itself, because and it should be more not just narration of the facts as well. There should be some life in the novel, that is story should be there, but it should also talk about the society and culture as well. So it's more of it should be realistic. Main concepts is that a definition of novel is a personal, a direct impression of life. The way the people behave, that should be shown in the novel, and the dialogues should be there as well, which actually make the novel more realistic. A novel must be interesting, according to him. Readers do not suspend their disbelief, which was actually his reply to Coleridge. Even in the modern and the postmodern, poets, there can be some contradiction or conflict among each other. So Coleridge, believed in this thing that it's actually a disbelief, suspension of the disbelief, but he was against James. Henry James was against him. So he said that a novel must be realistic, but it's not always narration of facts. There should be some fiction, like, I mean, it should be there should be some dialogues in it as well, in order to make it interesting, not just narration of the facts. Otherwise it will not be a novel, it will be a historical document. All right, then comes Mikhail Bakhtin, and he was an essayist, but he also actually believed in this thing that dialogues should be added in the essays, and it will make it more lively. And there should be the concept of the dialogic is central to his critical theory, which proposes that all language is a dialogue in which a speaker and a listener forms a relationship. Right. So all language is a dialogue, which is very important line. That language is basically in the form of dialogue, which the way the normal people behave and talk with one another. That's actually I mean, the way language is. And yes, that's it. Now, the last one is modern literary criticism, which I've already explained to you already. That is, in the 20th century, the tendency among the various schools, new schools of criticism, has been abandonment of the holistic approach. And there is no just one approach, one way of looking at the text or the literary work. The holistic approach has been abandoned, and this former tendency has been replaced instead by theories that concentrate on one or more specific aspects. This is how the modern literary criticism is being um, used, or it behaves in this way, that you cannot judge a text from only one aspect, the whole text. And एक पूरे text को एक ही aspect से आप judge नहीं कर सकते. There are so many different aspects, so many different themes in one text, and it can be interpreted in so many different ways. So in order to focus on one aspect at a time, there has to be, the theories need to be applied. Any questions, guys? I think this Mikhail Bakhtin, we can go over some of the points from his writings, from his this. One is heteroglossia. He says another key term is heteroglossia, which demonstrates the multiplicity of languages that operate in any given language, in any given culture. This term is not limited to spoken language, but encompasses a wider scope. It includes all the forms of social speech that people use. So, according to him, language is actually a mixture of so many cultures. So that kind of language should be used in the works of literature, in the literary works, whether it's an essay or a novel. Dialogues should be there, and different types of social speeches, different forms of social speeches should be there, like the way people talk or and behave in the normal life. They use a lot of slangs. They use different types of codes. So that should be a part of the literary works as well, in order to make it more lively and realistic. Okay, then that's it. Guys, any question?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to take attendance, and Since I'm not feeling very well, so I leave you after that. Faiza. Faiza Farshid. जी मोहम्मद नदीम, I've seen your message. ठीक है
मेमो प्रेजेंट है लेकिन इसके माइक का इशू है मोहम्मद नदीम।
जी मैंने देख लिया, थैंक यू अरसलान। याकूब, तारिक हुसैन, he was present.
प्रेजेंट मैम।
Okay, अरसलान,
प्रेजेंट मैम।
अली रजा,
Present, ma'am.
आसिया,
Present, ma'am.
सिदरा,
Present, ma'am.
आमिर,
Present, ma'am. Here, ma'am.
इसवा।
Present, ma'am.
तारिक के साथ ही बैठे हुए हैं क्या आमिर?
मैम मैं और तैयब साथ बैठे हैं। तैयब की तरफ से।
नहीं तो आमिर हमजा ये कहाँ बैठा हुआ है?
मैम मैं हमजा हूँ, तैयब के साथ बैठा हूँ।
अच्छा
तैयब की तरफ से।
सॉरी, आप अपने
उसका
नाम,
माइक
सही है सही है, मैं कह रही हूँ अपने नाम को ना चेंज करिए, या तो तैयब लिखे, सॉरी वो आमिर हमजा लिखे या सिर्फ हमजा रखें। अच्छा शुएब,
ओके। प्रेजेंट मैम।
इजाज शाहीन,
Present, ma'am.
इजाज, you this is your first class with me. Throughout the month of March you have not been present, right?
मैम लास्ट टाइम वाली ली थी, आपने
अच्छा
निकाल
अच्छा
दिया
अच्छा
था।
अच्छा, वही वाले हैं आप, ठीक है समझ आ गई।
यस मैम।